Today we have a 2018 Hyundai Elantra with a 2.0 liter engine. The customer complaint on this vehicle is the check engine light remains on the dash while the engine is running. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go in the vehicle so we can confirm the customer's complaint. After confirming the customer's complaint, we're going to connect a scan tool to the vehicle to see what kind of trouble codes we have in the engine computer. So now let's go in the vehicle so we can confirm the customer's complaint. I'm going to start the engine. So as you can hear, the engine is running and Dom is going to show you the dash. So right there, check engine light remains on the dash. The engine is shaking a little bit. So customer's complaint confirmed. Yeah. Can you feel it shaking? Like the whole car is shaking. It feels like this is misfiring. So let's turn the key on. Let's scan the engine computer and see what we got. Okay. Let's see. This is a Hyundai. So right there, vehicle has been identified. We're gonna click OK. Let's do a code scan. Let's scan all the control units on the vehicle and see what we got. All right, so we have cylinder 1 misfire detected, crankshaft position sensor, correlation bank 1, sensor B, exhaust, and then we have P0017 exhaust camshaft timing over advanced or system performance bank 1. So I believe we have an exhaust camshaft sensor that's probably not working properly, and that sensor not working may cause a misfire code. Now we could have two issues here. Now the first code is probably caused by, you know, a defective spark plug or a defective coil. You know, we could also have an injector that's not spraying the correct amount of fuel in the engine, or we could have a compression issue in cylinder 1. I don't think we do. Actually, I'm gonna put this in clear flood mode. I'm gonna crank the engine so we can listen to it. We're gonna listen to the engine cadence. Let's listen to how the engine sounds. We want the engine to sound nice and consistent. I'm gonna step all the way on the accelerator pedal. So I'm pressing the accelerator pedal to the floor right now. I'm gonna crank the engine. If this has clear flood mode, the engine is not gonna start. And then we're gonna listen to the engine. So let's see. Oh, it's just revved up. Let's try this one more time. Okay. It started, but listen. Okay, so I don't think we have a mechanical problem with this engine. Let's scroll down and see what else we have. We have two codes on the generic side of the tool. The first code is P0301, cylinder 1 misfire detected. And then the second code is P0017, crankshaft position, camshaft position, correlation bank 1, sensor B. The fact that we have a correlation code about sensor B, usually sensor B is the exhaust cam sensor, and then sensor A is the intake cam sensor. So since it's saying sensor B, I want to go under the hood and check the cam sensor to see if the cam sensor is putting out the correct signal. We're going to check the sensor wiring too, and then we might have to swap the ignition coils around. I'm going to get the ignition coil from cylinder 1. I'll put it on cylinder 2 to see if that's going to follow the misfire. Because right now, as the engine is running, I feel a misfire. Actually, before we go under the hood, let's see if we have some misfire counts here. Let's look at some misfire data. Okay, let me start the engine. Yeah, so watch cylinder 2 right here. Cylinder 2 is counting like crazy. Watch that. Yeah, not cylinder 2, cylinder 1. Cylinder 1 is counting, look at that. So it's actively misfiring right now. All right, so let's go under the hood and see what we got. We're gonna open the hood. one. So we're gonna pop the engine cover. So this cover just pops off. Okay. Now, over here we have two camshaft sensors. So this is the intake manifold. The sensor close to the intake manifold will be the intake camshaft sensor. So this is the intake camshaft sensor, and this over here is the exhaust camshaft sensor because it's close to the exhaust manifold. So that's the exhaust manifold right there. Okay, so now, first things first, since cylinder 1 was misfiring like crazy, I'm going to, so this is cylinder 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to disconnect the first coil. I'm going to swap these coils around to see if our misfire is going to follow the coil. How did they lock this thing? There we go. So I'm going to grab my 10 mil. We could have a defective coil. Yeah. Okay, so this is the coil that came out of cylinder 2. So this is, oh, look at that. Oh my goodness, this coil is freaking burnt. Well, there's the problem. Do you think that's a problem, Dom? Cameraman Dom agrees. Man, this thing, let me see if I can look into the cylinder. Shoot, that thing is completely burnt. That thing is completely burnt. Yeah, I hope you can see it. Let me grab my flashlight. I don't know if you can see, but yeah. There's a piece of the ignition coil stuck in it. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, maybe right there. Oh well. I mean, you guys can see the coil. I mean, look at that. Look at this one compared to this. You can tell there's a huge difference between both of them, okay? So, now we need to figure out why this coil got burnt. Is it just the coil that, you know, that failed? Or is it a spark plug that caused the coil to fail? So we need to figure that out. And then we need to check the cam sensor. So this is clearly a problem, okay? This coil, I mean, the coil could have just been, you know, bad. Maybe the coil just went bad. Now, we do have two issues here. The coil is bad. We have to change the coil and the spark plugs, and then I will check the coil wiring to make sure we don't have a shorted control wire of the coil, because if the wire that controls this coil is shorted, it can cause the coil to be on constantly, and that can burn the coil. So we're gonna have to do that after we replace the coil. So to fix this, I'm gonna recommend replacing all the spark plugs and then one coil, and then we'll see what happens. But before I make the estimate, remember we also had a code for the cam sensor. So I'm gonna check that. So I'm gonna reinstall this coil over here. This is probably not gonna run well. I mean, it wasn't running well anyways. So, but I wanna check this signal coming out of the exhaust cam sensor. Now, since these sensors are really easy to get to, they're just up here, we might have to compare the voltages coming out of both sensors. Okay, so we're gonna put this back. We know that coil needs to be replaced. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring out my lab scope and my test leads so we can test the exhaust cam sensor. So since this is a 3-wire sensor, it's a Hall effect sensor, we're gonna connect to all the wires at the sensor. So we're gonna ground our lab scope, test lead over here, battery ground, and then I'm gonna back probe the wires at the sensor. So I'm gonna disconnect the electrical connector of the sensor. So as you can see, we have 3 wires here. I'm gonna back probe the first wire, and then we're gonna connect our second test lead over here. We're gonna back probe the second wire. Sorry, my hand is in the way. Right there. And then we're gonna back probe the last wire. So on all these wires, one wire is gonna be a 5-volt reference, and then the other wire will be ground, and then the third wire will be sensor signal. So I don't know which one is which. I haven't looked at the wiring diagram yet, but just so you know, one will be 5-volt, one will be ground, and then the other one will be sensor signal. So we got all the wires back probed. So now we're gonna reconnect the electrical connector of the sensor. Okay, so I'm gonna put my lab scope right here. Okay, we're gonna set up our lab scope. I'm gonna turn on all these channels. We're gonna be on the, let's just be on the 10-volt scale, because this is a 5-volt sensor. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in the vehicle and start the engine. So let's see what we got. Okay, so as you can hear, the engine is shaking like crazy. So the cam sensor is producing a signal. The amplitude of the sensor looks fine. Okay, and our 5-volt reference is there. It didn't move. We're not losing 5-volt reference. So sensor signal is good. Okay, so now I'm gonna move my signal wire, my signal test lead from the exhaust cam sensor to the intake cam sensor. I'm gonna turn off these other channels here. Let's see what we got here. Now I'm just double checking. Yeah, so same thing with the intake. So now I'm back probing the intake cam sensor. This is good. Let's check the exhaust sensor again. The signal coming out of the exhaust sensor is good. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the engine. Actually, let me let's trigger this. I'm gonna rev up the engine and then I'll turn it off. Okay, let me analyze the data. Okay, let's see. Now I'm looking at the signal coming out of this exhaust cam sensor to see if we have any dropouts or any glitches. Oh, actually, right here. You gotta love a lab scope. So check this out. I'm gonna zoom in around this area. This sensor is failing. Yeah, check this out. Yeah, right here. Right here, guys. This is a problem. You see this right here? Look how we have a, wide. Oops. Yeah, this is gonna need a sensor. The exhaust sensor needs to be replaced. Yeah, check this, right? Check this out. Yeah, so right here, okay, we have a wide, narrow, narrow, medium, wide, wide. Look at this one over here. Look at this, look at this, look at this over here. Yeah, so this sensor, the sensor is dropping out, okay? This sensor is failing. Let's go again. Let's see if we can see. Let's see if there's any repetition here. Look at this over here. Yeah, so failing exhaust cam sensor. Okay. Yeah, this over here is a problem. Okay, so we are done. Okay, we have good 5-volt reference at the sensor, good ground. The sensor signal is dropping out, and that's a sensor issue. Okay, so now I'm gonna recommend replacing 4 spark plugs, 1 exhaust cam sensor, and 1 ignition coil. I'm gonna make an estimate. I will let the customer know, and then let's see what the customer decides. Whatever the customer says, I'll bring you guys back up so I can tell you what we're gonna do. So I will talk to the customer, and then I'll bring you guys back up. So we did get the go-ahead from the customer. The customer approved our estimate. So now we're going to replace the plugs, 1 coil, and the cam sensor. Now, unfortunately, most of our vendors here in the area do not have the cam sensor. I even called the Hyundai dealership. They don't have it. The Hyundai dealership told me that we have to wait 3 days to get the sensor, but Parts Authority has one in Rockville. So they told me they can DoorDash it to our shop. So we should be able to have the sensor from Parts Authority in 1 hour. So I did get the ignition coil and the plugs from Napa. Now, like I said earlier, some manufacturers recommend replacing all the plugs and all the ignition coils, but since we only have 1 coil that's burnt, I'm going to replace 1 coil, and then we're gonna see how the engine runs after that. If we have to replace all the coils, maybe later on we can do that. So we're just gonna do 1 coil and all the plugs. While we're replacing the plugs, we're gonna wait for the sensor. Hopefully the sensor is gonna get here today, but if we don't get the sensor today, I mean, maybe I can just swap the sensors for now, because the intake sensor and the cam sensor are both the same. I can swap it, put it on the exhaust cam so you can see how it is, but it's basically the same. So hopefully we're gonna get the sensor today so we can finish everything today. So now let's remove our spark plugs. So the first plug over here where the ignition coil is burnt, we have a bunch of stuff down here. So I don't know how I'm going to remove that. Let me grab, we have some residue from this burnt coil still in here. So I'm gonna try to find a way to pull this out. Yeah, we have all this crap coming out. So, you know what? I'm gonna remove these other spark plugs first. Do you see my ratchet? Okay. So I'm gonna replace all the plugs that are easy to get to, and then we will remove the first one last, because that one is really, it's gonna be a little challenging to remove. So here comes our plug. So yeah, these plugs are worn out. We are installing Autolite Iridium plugs on this. Now I'm gonna show you how to remove two plugs on camera. I'm gonna replace the first one we replaced, and then we're gonna replace the second one. So the first one is this one on cylinder 2. Now you can torque these spark plugs if you want, but I mean, I've done a bunch of these, so I'm not gonna over torque these spark plugs. So we got the first one over here. Now I'm gonna disconnect the third coil. Now before I remove the third spark plug, I am going to, let's clean off this hole over here. I don't know if you guys saw what we have in this hole, because we have some, so it looks like the entire bottom of the ignition coil is still in that hole. So let's figure out how we can take it out. All right, so let's blow this off. All right, so let me see. You guys won't be able to see, but there's a piece of the coil still in there. All right, so we have the bottom piece of the ignition coil that's still in there. I'm gonna spray a little bit of penetrating fluid in it, and then I'm gonna use these needle nose pliers. Hopefully I can pull this piece out. Perfect. So just like that, here it comes. So this is the bottom piece of this coil. Okay. So I'm gonna get this out of the way. Now we're gonna clean the hole. Actually, we have some pieces of rubber here. Okay, so now we're gonna remove the spark plug. Okay, I will just show you this one, and then I will do the rest off camera. And then when I install all the plugs and the new coil, I'm going to look at the waveform at the coil wires. Let's make sure we don't have a shorted control wire of the coil. So here comes the plug. Yeah, actually it's very fouled. I don't know if you guys will see this. Can you see this, Dom? So you can zoom into this. Yeah, it's fouled. This wasn't even burning. Can you see it? Yeah, so foul spark plug. So that's a problem right there. So now I'm gonna install the other new plug. So we're gonna install our new plug in there, and then we're gonna tighten it. All right, so that's good. Now here is the coil part number, in case any of you want to see that. Okay, so this is the coil we're installing. Echlin coil. These are pretty good coils. I've had good luck with them. Okay, so now we're gonna install our brand new ignition coil right here. And then we're going to tighten this. I'm going to change the other two off camera. Once I get everything changed, I'll bring you guys back up so we can start the engine. and check our repair. So I did replace all the spark plugs and the ignition coil off camera. I'm gonna show you the new coil. So we got the new coil installed and all the plugs. Actually, let me grab the old plugs. So these are the old spark plugs and this is the bad coil. So basically right now, the only remaining thing would be changing the cam sensor. So the cam sensor is not here. We're still waiting. I don't think the sensor will be delivered today. We're gonna have to wait until tomorrow to get the sensor. So we're gonna stop here today. I'll bring you guys back up tomorrow once we get the sensor. Once we get the sensor, we're gonna install it. We're gonna clear the codes and then we'll take this on a test drive. Actually, I'm also gonna scope the wires at the new coil over here to make sure that we do not have a shorted control wire of the coil. Okay, so I'll bring you guys back up tomorrow once we get the new sensor. It is the next day. We got a new cam sensor. So here's the part number for it. I'm gonna get it out of the box. So this is the sensor that we're gonna install. And after we install this sensor, this vehicle should be good to go. So we're gonna remove the old one. Let me grab my tools here. So here's the sensor that we're gonna remove. I'm gonna disconnect this tube first. Removing this sensor is pretty straightforward. So we're gonna remove this and then I'm gonna disconnect the electrical connector of the sensor. And then we're gonna undo this 10mm bolt. So pretty straightforward, easy peasy. So I'm gonna pull the sensor out. So here comes the old sensor and this is the new one. So we're gonna compare it to what we got. As you can see, they both look identical. So now we're gonna install our brand new sensor. We're gonna install the little bolt that holds it down. All right, just like that. Now I'm gonna reconnect the electrical connector of the sensor. And then we're gonna install this tube. All right, so now I'm gonna grab my lab scope. We're gonna back probe the wires at the sensor. We're gonna double check the signal and then we should be good to go. So I'm gonna get my test leads connected to the sensor first. So we're gonna connect this to ground. And then I'm gonna back probe this wire here. And then green is gonna go over here on the second wire. And then the blue is gonna go right here on the last wire. I believe this is the signal wire. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab my scan tool. So after this vehicle should run a lot better. Now I'm gonna go in the vehicle and start the engine. So as you can hear, the engine is running. We have a good signal on the lab scope screen. Let me drop these voltages down. So remember when I revved up the engine before with the old sensor, these square waves over here were breaking down. So I'm gonna rev up the engine. Okay, let me rev up the engine now. Yeah, this is good, it's fixed. We're just double checking our repair. So I'm gonna pause this. Yeah, this is good. It's fixed. So now let's go to the engine computer. I'm gonna erase the codes. Let me turn off the engine. Right now the check engine light is still on. Dom, if you can come and show everyone the check engine light. Right now the check engine light is still on the dash. So now I'm gonna turn off the engine. We're gonna clear the codes. Yeah, this sounds a lot better. So we're gonna clear the codes and then we should be good to go. Actually, I'm gonna look at some misfire counters. Remember before, cylinder 1 was counting like crazy. I mean, because the coil was burnt. Actually, I also said that I was gonna check the wiring of the coil. I will do that because maybe the control wire of the coil is shorted, which I don't think is the issue because the customer drove this vehicle yesterday. He just brought it back so we can install the sensor. So let's see. So we erased the codes, no check engine light. Dom, if you can show the dash, the engine is running and the check engine light is off. So that's good. The engine is a lot smoother now. The engine is not shaking. We're good. This is fixed. I don't have to take this on a test drive. I mean, you guys will see this. Dom is gonna put this on the screen for you guys. As you can see, cylinder 1 is not misfiring, so we're good. So now I'm gonna check the wiring at the ignition coil. So let's go back to our lab scope. Okay, everything on the scope looks good. Okay, so the sensor we installed is good. So Dom, if you can show this, the coil over there, the one we replaced. So I'm gonna back probe. So we have 3 wires at the coil. One wire is gonna be a power supply wire, so it looks like this pink one, and then the other one will be the control, and then the third one will be ground. Okay, so right here, let me make sure I'm making good connection here. Okay, so now I'm going to increase our voltage scale over here. So Dom is gonna keep this on the screen for you guys so you can see. So right there we have our coil control. Okay, so we have voltage at the coil, we have ground, and the little square wave we see over here on the blue trace is the computer controlling the coil. If the control wire was shorted to ground or shorted to power, we would have a constant voltage on the blue trace. The fact that we have this little square wave over here, this tells me that the coil control is good, so we're good. That coil just failed. The wiring wasn't the issue, so we're good to go. I'm gonna turn off the engine so we can wrap up this video. All right, guys, that's it. I'm gonna leave this right over here. This is fixed. We don't have to take this on a test drive. I can guarantee you that this is fixed. We replaced the spark plugs, 1 ignition coil, and exhaust cam sensor. Now all is well. So I hope you liked the video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell us why so we can make better videos in the future. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time we upload a new video. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. See you guys next time.